Hello and welcome to another episode of Brujo 101. I'm your host, Martin Moreno, joined by the lovely Ashe, a.k.a. Thanya, or I guess it's Thanya, a.k.a. Ashe.
I think so.
Is that right?
So.
That makes more sense.
Hello.
And joining us today is the homie, the super talented photographer, writer, actor. Cuando tienes tantos títulos, cabrón, MC, Boyle Heights legend.
I can't really claim actor and MC because I haven't done those things in like 20 years. But thank you.
But still, they're in your resume.
Yeah.
Rafael Cardenas, a.k.a. Rafa.
Gracias.
How are you, Rafa?
I'm good, man. Thank you. And, I appreciate the invite to any podcast that you're doing, and it's exciting to be here to learn about, what this is all about.
So we are going to be sacrificing some goats and then a couple of chickens. So it's going to be a pretty special episode today. You get to you showed up on the sacrifice evening. The moon is at its como se dice, most receptive to the blood offerings today, and therefore this is the day that you might have noticed a lot of missing animals in the no, we don't do that here. But it's so crazy that I say the word brujo and it scares people.
Yeah.
And their mind goes to, are you guys eating babies like Hillary? Not that Hillary eats babies, but
like
yeah, I know. Yeah, she doesn't. Or you guys over there sacrificing animals? It's like people get so afraid by the term brujo or bruja. We've been conditioned of how that it's so evil, but the term itself was used very loosely for anybody that didn't fall in line with the status quo. Like you're using herbs to heal, bruja. You're you're doing X thing or whatever.
You levitate, bruja.
Yeah,
who knows?
You use an essential oil for something, bruja, and that's unfortunate. And the term I think has, as a matter of fact, I said that I'm going to stop calling you my bruja because the other day, because I always say, my bruja told me this, my bruja told me that. The other day I was hanging out and somebody said, do you smoke cigars? And I go, I'll smoke them every blue moon. I go, one time my bruja gave me a Cuban and I smoke it. She goes to Cuba and he goes, wait, what did you say? You're bruja? And I go, yeah, like a real bruja? It's like, yeah.
And I popped out with a hat and a cat.
And then, right? And then that person was just like, oh. Like they were really
they're like freaked out.
They were freaked out, and I was like, to me, it's very nonchalant. It's like not a big deal, but people, it still scares them. It's like marijuana in the Mexican families. No, está bien el marihuano, ten cuidado. And I think the term bruja also scares people.
Can I be called the oracle? Because they used to do that in like Egypt and stuff, right? They would go see the oracle.
Yeah.
I like that name.
I like oracle. If you want to be the oracle.
Forget
it. Oracle.
We're going back to bruja.
How do you pronounce it?
Oracle. Stop it. Oracle.
Oh, what did I say?
Oracle or something.
I didn't hear that, but okay.
I didn't either. I just heard it.
Now he wishes he wrote that.
Right?
Yeah, now I wish I would have thought it. Yeah. Hey, it's the oral hole. I mean, the oracle. No.
Like,
so I decided, if you want to be oracle.
What's my new name? Let's see.
You be oracle. But what I decided to say is that you are my spiritual advisor.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because spiritual advisor has such a more accepting, more
and very
crossover,
broad, right?
very
it's
broad.
A very broad connotation.
Correct. And I think, when you hear Axl Rose has a spiritual advisor before every concert, they burn incense, they do this, they do that.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
And then if the spiritual advisor says it's not time to go out yet, he'll wait until it's time to go out. Now, do I know this for a fact? No. These are stories that I've heard from other people that this is what happens. I don't doubt it,
But people do that.
People do that,
Well,
correct.
Ronald Reagan or Nancy Reagan had a tarot reader, right?
Or an astrologer.
Or an astrologer.
Did almost everything through astrology.
Through astrology, right? So there you go.
So yeah. So and nobody flinches when they say, "Oh, Axl Rose has a spiritual advisor." Well, of course he does. You know, he's Hollywood and he's a rock star, and why wouldn't he have a spiritual advisor? But if you were to say Axl Rose has a brujo, you're like, "Oh fuck, he's got a brujo. What are they doing back there?" It's the same person. It's just a different
label.
Correct. And I think instead of saying my bruja and scaring, because brujo scares people, se asustan. And so I don't want to scare them.
Who I run with is such a different crowd. Like brujo to us is like, whatever. Like
sure, that's
or if you're really using it, like if you're serious about being called a brujo, we'll make fun of you. Like, oh, se piensa bien brujo. You know, like, okay, all right.
Bad as brujo.
Bad as brujo on the block. And then we'll just make fun of you. But
right.
Like I don't see it like any which way. I think that now, remember we had that conversation. Now I think that people are taking back the term brujo and bruja
and owning it.
Even like I have friends who have really gotten in touch with like indigenous dancing and being a suamera. And
what does that mean, suamera?
The people who burn the hierbas before the ceremonies, and they'll message me on a chat and they'll be like, "Oh, you're doing this, we do this too, or we do that." And I think people are trying to take back their own, I guess, brujeria, right?
They're trying to decolonize spirituality.
And like, it's funny, but there are people who have spiritual advisors, because do you guys remember the Arellano Felix?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if I told you this, but my son's godfather was their godfather.
Oh, they were santeros.
They're santeros. They have santo done and everything. Well, they did. They lived in TJ. Mm-hmm. And so they would go to the house at the same time that I was there. At this house, a lot of people would go, like Celia, Cruz, and all these people, right? So I have like pictures with all these people, with my son and a baby, And they would ask him, "We're going to do this. Can we go?" And then he would tell them, "You can't go. Now's not a good time." Or, "Okay, you're going to go, but you promised this much to Orula." And like basically skimming off the top for them to do. And he was their spiritual advisor, So I think a lot of people have spiritual advisors behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that now people are more open to be like, yeah, I go to someone, they help me.
Dude, Catholics go and they confess to the priest. They tell the priest their sins, their transgressions. The priest says, go get on your knees and say X amount of Hail Marys, and then you're good. Go do a misa, and you're good. People go to the pastor for advice. That's a spiritual advisor. People go to the youth leaders for advice in the church. That's a spiritual advisor.
Prophets, when you're Muslim, they go to prophets.
They go to the prophets. So, when I consult you on things, about things, and I ask you about things, and you help me out, or you give me some type of guidance, that is, you've done brujeria, but you are also a spiritual advisor, I feel. And I think that my spiritual growth has completely exacerbated. That's a good word, right? It's grown because of the connection that I have with you and your mother. I feel that now my connection to the spirit world and my ancestors is a lot stronger than it was before I met you. And therefore, I think it's not fair to box you in as a bruja. I think you're much broader than that. And therefore, I think I'm going to start referring to you as my spiritual advisor. And you're right. In some circles, bruja is completely acceptable. But in the mainstream, asustas a la gente.
This is like the Disneyland version of spiritual advisor.
There you go. That's the...
I'm going to get a shirt
then
that
you put
says,
the quarter in and
I'm
gives
his
you
spirit with a little arrow, right? I'll be like, hey, okay, that's
what
me.
did you say?
One of those things where you put a quarter in and it gives you like your fortune.
Like a little, like, I always wanted to buy one of those machines, those Zoloft.
Yeah, Zoltar.
Oh, yeah, that guy. I love that.
Who's the Tom Hanks, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big,
and
the
then
movie
it like caused his whole shebang.
Well, I invited you on, Rafa, mainly because you're a great person, first of all, and I think that you're not a brujo or a spirit, but you are a spiritual advisor. I feel in certain ways. I think that your art and your photography speaks to people's soul. The exhibit that you had over at what is that?
Plaza de Cultura y Artes. That's
the
the
Plaza
one that
de
you
Cultura y
saw.
Artes. Fucking again, congratulations on that. Great venue, and I think it's a pretty prestigious to be showcased there. And I remember looking at those pictures, and a lot of them were like, they spoke to you with the soul of the hood. You brought the soul of the hood to life.
I'm going to use that quote.
What's that?
I'm going to use that quote, the soul of the hood.
Well, no, you really did. There was that one picture of the pawn shop late at night that really, like, it and, I remember it clear as day. It was a while back that I saw this, and I remember that spoke to me, and so did those tacos árabe, by the way. But go ahead.
So I'm not a technical photographer by any means. Like, I know the basics of photography and how to use the camera. And a lot of what guides me is what I feel or how I feel when I see something. Or sometimes I might just shoot something that feels like nothing at the moment, but when I'm on the computer editing, and then it shapes into something that, So when I have that feeling that you're saying, that like when you look at it and you pick something up, like when I have that feeling, that's when I stop. And I'm like, all right, this is done. And it looks like something that I can put on the wall somewhere. So yeah. I can see how you like interpret that.
Are you are you from Boyle Heights?
Yeah, I grew up in East LA, just literally 2 blocks outside of the Indiana, line. But right now I've lived in Boyle Heights for the past 6 years.
Oh wow!
But I mean, I've spent my whole youth in Boyle Heights too. I had family in Aliso, and we do all of our shopping on Cesar Chavez. So
okay.
I definitely know Boyle Heights. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I think I went to that show.
Did you?
Because my uncle Danny is Danny Villarreal from American Me, the little puppet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Villapaz, the Danny de la Paz? No.
Yeah. So he's...
so Danny de la Paz is Danny Villarreal?
No, Danny Villarreal is little puppet, and the other guy is another guy.
Oh, yeah, I know.
With a hat.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
His little brother.
Yeah, his little brother.
On the movie.
Don't look at me, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Don't look at me. Which my son has a mask that says that and wears it to school. I think that's funny.
Awesome.
But... Yeah, I think I went to your show, actually.
Okay.
I was telling Martin that I think I went to your show. I think I remember
thank you.
it.
You probably went, maybe there was an event, too, in the back or something, so the show was open, or sometimes they do things like that.
If I remember correctly, like, your exhibit was there, and there was something going on there. Yeah. So, but people say that people catch people's spirits in pictures.
Could be.
They catch people's spirits.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of people that won't get photographed because of that.
My mom wouldn't get photographed for the longest time.
Well, the thing that I believe is, like, once you take a picture and you print it, it has a life of its own. It's like, it's no longer that moment. Like, if I snapped a picture of you guys and I carry it, then that thing is now a thing. The picture itself becomes a thing. So it has its own life as well, not just like the thing that you photographed. So I'm sorry, I'm probably too far from the mic, but it carries a life after you snap it, after that moment. And a lot of times a photo doesn't exactly depict what you see, but it carries its own life, and it creates its own identity in different ways, and carries some weight to it. I like to use the word weight. I'm like, once I get to a point where I feel a certain weight, that's where I stop, and I feel like it's kind of heavy. It feels good,
And part of the reason why I invited you to this particular podcast with the whole spiritual thing is you, by definition, I wouldn't consider yourself a religious person, and maybe you are, and you're private about it.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. But you're a pretty smart guy. You're a smart guy. We've had many conversations, and you are, you know history as well.
He said más o menos.
Más o menos.
Es que he's making me sound like a scholar.
No me preguntes nada.
Making
me sound like a scholar here.
You know what's funny? I was hanging out with my kid, the other day, who's in middle school, right? And we're talking, and they said, my friend's name is Juan Diego. And I said, Juan Diego? And I go, know where that name comes from? And I go ahead and do this whole dissertation on Juan Diego and the conquistadores, and how they had the Indio preaching to the conquerors.
That's pretty old school
and
to
how
have that name.
and how they took Tonancin Cerro, which was the Tepeyac, and converted it to the Basilica de Guadalupe, and dude, the whole thing. And just looking at me, it's like, and after I was done, so go tell your friend. That's where his name comes from. He goes, okay, I'm going to put my headphones on now.
She's like, and we're done.
She probably said, no, it's actually from Carmen Sandiego.
Right? She's like,
isn't that a city by DJ?
No, Dora the Explorer.
Juan Diego.
oh, is it Diego? Oh, Diego, yeah.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, and it's so crazy to me when people, when they bring up certain things, it's hard for me not to say, well, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I got to learn how to shut the fuck up.
It's hard. It's kind of fun to do it, too. Like, because you nerd out about things, and when you nerd out by yourself, and you, like, carry all this, and sometimes somebody says something, and you're like, you know.
I do that with my son about Santeria things. He's in his year where he's supposed to be learning and stuff. And something will happen. I'm like, you know, that there's a bataki, and it says a changa, and he's like, no, Mom. We're at the grocery store. No. And I'm like,
no, not right now.
He's like, not now. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Well, we'll just wait on it then.
Let's just get our apples.
Yeah, they was literally about something like that too. I was like, you know why you can't eat apples? Because and then he was like, done.
The oracle you mentioned earlier, which is interesting. The first time I heard the word oracle was when I read the play Oedipus Rex. And, you know, goes to the oracle, and the oracle says, you're going to kill your father and fuck your mother. It's like, okay, fuck that. I'm running away.
Little lesson for people. That's what the Oedipus complex is.
Sure. The Oedipus complex is being, falling in love with somebody that looks like your mother, reminds you of your mother. And the Electra complex is the opposite, is you've got the daddy issues and you want to fuck your dad. So, little Greek theater there. Anyway,
tidbit of information.
Yeah. Here on the Brujo 101 podcast, we talk about the Dios de Maquina. So that was the first time I heard the word oracle, and I never knew what I was like. So what's the fucking oracle that told this person that? And then the dad sends him away, and then they didn't kill him, and then he hears the story again, but it's not the right dad, and then he leaves, and he actually ends up fucking his mother, and then that's how the land is cursed, and blah blah blah. But the word that word fascinated me, and it's funny because it's stuck in my head, and I never really understood what the oracle was. What's an oracle? I thought it was like some scripture or something that was a saying. But you said so that was the fortune teller, the brujo.
Well, it's whatever they use to tell your fortune. So like when we throw caracol,
that's the oracle.
That's the form of divination. We're the oracle.
You're the oracle. Got it.
So like when you go to Ifa and they consult you with, Elekwale, which is what they use, they are speaking, they are the oracle. That's a form of divination. I actually learned, I can't take credit for this. Somebody had called what my mom did that. Like somebody who went to get a judge who went to get consulted with her. He was like, well, the oracle. And I'm like, who? And he was like, well, your mom said. And I was like, oh, okay.
Hey.
I was like, and my mom's like, "Ay, please," my mom's so like down to earth. She's like, "No me gusta." I'm like, okay. So like, I think it's just a form of whoever is like advising you on what to do, right? Because the point of a spiritual advisor is not to like handhold you, because you're not a kid, right? I'm having this weird awakening. Tomorrow I'll be 21 years old religiously, and I told my mom something is happening. There's a shift happening. I can feel it, and before, I would try really, really hard to almost parent my godchildren, grown people, and I would like parent them. I'd be like, don't do that, like the fucking bird from The Little Mermaid. But now I'm more like, when they ask me questions, I'm like, what do you want to do? And then they'll tell me, I want to do this. Okay. I think this, but you should do whatever you think is right. The spiritual repercussion of this could be this. Or, a lot of people want to become brujos right now, right? It's a thing. And they want to be psychic, and they want to see dead people. And here comes Halloween. There we go, right? And I tell people, if you have that gift that you can do things like that, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of learning. Like I get a lot of messages and people are like, I want to learn how to do that. Okay, perfect. I wake up every day, like Martin says, and it's wiki all day long. So I'm literally reading, learning more words in Yoruba, studying another language. So I think that like now I'm trying to be more of the oracle and just being like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to do this? Okay, let's see how it pans out, right? And then just try to give you ideas on what I have known to work to advance you spiritually, which will walk hand in hand materially too, because people don't understand that everything is fluid. Money's fluid, energy's fluid. So once you start aligning your energies, money comes. People are always asking for money. Like if you tell people do something, ask for whatever you want. The first one is the viejo or the woman. They're always asking for that. Then it's money. Nobody ever says, give me health. Because you can get everything else, right? You're on tour. If you were unhealthy, could you be on tour?
No.
It's health. So I try now to not be so the bird on the Little Mermaid, you know? Now I'm more like, what do you want to do? Okay, you want to do that? Okay. This is what you should do. You should get consulted once every 21 days if you want to advance. But we're human and things start going good and we forget, right? So I feel like now with everybody who wants to be brujos, I'm getting like a lot of really weird messages. And I tell people, this is what you should do. Whatever you want to do, that's totally on you, you know? But we go back to, you're also opening yourself up to really getting bamboozled, right? Like you want a quick fix. This is 21 every day. This is like if you were Buddhist people meditate.
Yeah.
Muslim people meditate. People who aren't religious meditate. Maybe you picking the pictures that form a meditation, right?
Definitely the walks are. Yeah.
I'll be making things.
Oh my God! During the pandemic, you took some ridiculous pictures, bro. That right there, that journal of that shutdown was super emotional and so many different things.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that same thing, like when I teach younger people to start taking pictures, and I don't usually say like, all right, you know, you're gonna put things here and this and that. I try to say, how do you feel, and go out and walk and take that feeling with you, and try to find that feeling in your pictures, and let the feeling like push the button, you know, like you'll see it that way.
So do you offer like classes? Is that what you do?
No, but I have in the past for like local nonprofits and things like that.
Oh, awesome.
But during the pandemic, you know, there's nobody out, but I was on my bike and, you know, just going everywhere. And it was kind of fun to have like the streets almost to yourself for the most part. And then, you know, there was like all the uprisings and BLM and all that. So there was a lot of things to see outside, you know, for those that did venture out. And so I started photographing on the beginning of 2020 because it was a 10-year anniversary of the last time I did it in 2010. I photographed an entire year every day out in the streets. So it was like 10 years later, I'm going to do it again. And it just happened to be a pandemic.
Wow.
I was, you know, of course I didn't know that. But yeah, that's I ended up capturing the entire year, 2020.
That is so awesome. Are you going to do are you thinking of doing like a picture book or like a...
I'm behind on my books. I have a book that's coming out in a couple of months. And then after that, I'll probably do the pandemic book. Yeah.
It was weird, right? Like I would
let it sit for a while.
I would see pictures. People would take, like, I have a lot of friends in Cuba, and they would take pictures and nobody would be there, and they would be like, it's like Armageddon. Like, it looks like it's the end of the world. And those people are so removed from a lot of things that they were like, this looks like the end of the world. And then when I went, it was still during the pandemic, I was like, what the fuck is this? This is like so scary. Like, I took my son, and Nick is like, I never want to go back. Like, I never want to go back.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, okay.
It's weird. Empty freeways and empty streets. Like,
that was fucking bananas.
It's ghostly.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like that I Am Legend feeling almost with that. I don't know if you ever saw the Will Smith movie with the zombies and things. I want to backtrack a little bit. You were talking about 24/7 wiki. And, you know, I
by that, do you mean Wikipedia?
Wiki means...
Martin calls brujeria wiki.
Oh,
like,
okay.
you know,
Martin and my mom call brujeria wiki.
Like, you know, you have to do my... I go, you know, and then I do a little wiki, and then things happen. You know, I brought back OnlyFans. I don't know if you guys know that with my little wiki. Not that I'm a fan of OnlyFans, but hey, you know
it
what?
came back? I didn't know that.
Back. Yeah, the nudes are back.
With the nudes?
Yeah. I posted a picture of me sitting in a green couch, just kind of like with my arms outstretched, and I said, ask me a question, and somebody said, if you were a genie, what wish would you grant me? And the person that asked me that was somebody who had been all bummed out because they couldn't post their nudes anymore. And then they sent me a nude talking about, since I can put it on OnlyFans here. And I was like, all right, thank you, I guess. And
your life is so complex.
I know, sometimes. It really is. It's not easy being Martine. And so I already knew that they were doing that whole, what am I going to do? And so when they asked that question, I put that you'll be able to keep posting your nudes on OnlyFans, right? And then a few days later, OnlyFans says, hey, you know, that whole thing about no fucking porn, our bad. Bring on the fucking dicks and the pussies. And so they brought it back, and then this person hit me up. Oh my God, I don't know what you did, but OnlyFans. I'm telling you.
I like how the OnlyFans trumped Afghanistan. Like, don't worry about those babies. Let's just get the OnlyFans back.
Wow. I didn't think of that.
That totally tells you how the human race
everybody's
is.
Head is.
How the human race is. Like, what would you like me to do? I would like you to let me show my ass again, Martin. Or in other parts of my body.
And then I said wiki.
And then boom.
And she didn't ask for her health, you know. So.
She didn't. No, she's obviously healthy. She's obviously healthy.
That girl's the pictures must show her healthy.
Well, let's hope.
Muy healthy.
Muy healthy.
Muy healthy. Listen.
Oh my God.
But anyway, my point to all that is that I get a lot of credit for doing things that I just kind of like just say, and then it happens, and it's a coincidence, and then it's
total
like,
beginners, which is beginner's luck.
Listen, spiritual advisor, por favor. And so I start. I'm like, well, maybe I do have powers.
I'm so done today.
Not me. It's the freaking universe and the spirit working through me. I am but a humble vessel. I am but a humble servant doing the wiki of the Lord. Okay, so with all that said, I lit the vela. I lit the money candle a while back, and then Doge shot up, and people are like, "Light it again!" when it crashed, right? And so I'm telling you, things happen.
This was a whole thing.
This was a thing, and so I have the healing candle because I have San Martin was a healer, San Lázaro was a healer, Palo Santo is to heal, and so I usually work with the full moon. When the moon is full is when you'll see me out there doing my my things in the back, and I burn my sage and I do whatever
it's like freelance brujo. Like you don't really belong to anything. You just like
I'm a freelance brujo.
He's totally
I get
non-denominational.
I'm a non-denominational brujo. You could 1099 me, and so anyway, I don't need no W2. I'm not no full timer. And so anyway, I since I went on the road, I said, well, fuck, I'm not, there was one time where I was gone for a month, and I did have the full moon in San Antonio, and I put all my stuff out. But being on the road, you start realizing you don't have time for a lot of things, right? And so then you have to make time. You have to conscientiously make time. And I remembered that you said it's the wiki is every day. It's not just you're 24/7 wiki, right? And I'm not there yet, but I will tell you what happened. Hooter and the family caught COVID, right? And it stressed me out, and I said to him, I said, hey, I know you don't believe, but I'm gonna light the vela and I'm gonna put some stuff out. I'm going to do some wiki so that you guys are okay. And so, of course...
Wiki makes me laugh every time. I'm sorry.
And so...
Me too.
The wicked wiki, brother. And so... And so, I lit the candle at home, and then I said, take it with you. Something inside me told me, take it with you. So I packed it up, and I took it, and when I got to my hotel room... I got my compass out. I figured out where north, south, east, and west was.
Why do you carry a compass?
It's on your iPhone.
So yeah, it's in your app.
Oh, I thought like a compass. I'm like, dang,
it's in my pocket.
You're like super prepared, like a Boy Scout and shit.
You don't even know I got that in my.
I have a compass because I'm a witch and we need a compass.
Well, you have one on your phone now.
But when you're in the forest, it don't work.
But I think the app might. I don't know.
Will it?
Maybe.
I think so.
Could have known that in Costa Rica, guys. But go ahead.
So I'm here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so I said, take it with you. And so I did, and then I started grabbing certain stones, certain crystals.
Okay.
And then I had the incense, and I set it up, and I shit you not, there was a bottle of Zyrtec that I had pulled out. Y la puse to hold the incense porque no tenía un incense holder. And so I sent a picture to Huda. I go, I know you don't believe, but, out of my good intentions, I said, here's the little thing I set up where I'm, putting out good healing energy for you. And this cocksucker just puts a bunch of laughing faces. He goes, okay, but what's up with the Zyrtec? Is that magical Zyrtec or what the fuck, Dad? And I was like, you mind your goddamn business to hold the incense, damn it. And so anyway, I did a whole little thing, and the way that I do, like, I'm not saying that I know how or that I don't know how. I just set my intention, and I do whatever it is that I know how to do, and I channel the north, the south, the east, and the west, and it just, and they all recovered fully with minor complications. And I said to him, it worked. And he goes, yeah, I guess, not the zinc or the other supplements that I took. It was definitely your wiki. And I go, well, the zinc helped, I think, But
well, it's like, it's twofold, right? Like, what do you tell people, right? Be very careful of people who go, I've had people who have had cancer. They get consulted with us. They get cured. They didn't get cured because I'm a doctor. I sent them to a doctor. But what happened was the doctor took care of the medical things and we took care of the spiritual things, because it's hand in hand, right? And I think you shouldn't discredit yourself and be like, I don't know what I'm doing, because
instinctively,
your soul knows what you're doing, and it's done out of like a good place. Right?
Sure.
So then it's going to work. The problem is when people want to say that the way that you're doing it
is the only way,
or if you're already following a religious tradition, like I'm a santera, there's a way that we put our altar that has nothing to do with the way other people put their altars. So if you come to me and you ask me how to put an altar, I'm going to tell you how to do it like a santera. People who practice different things do it differently. Do I believe in those? No, I'm a santera. I believe what I believe. I respect what you believe, but I believe what I believe. But I think that the intention is the best brujeria. It's also the worst brujeria. Get a bunch of people hating you and focusing fucking Martin. What does let that happen? They're not going to kill you. They're not going to break your leg. But there are things that are going to happen in your life. Little instances to just take you out of the focus and the drive that you're supposed to be on.
I'm a firm believer in that. And so I got people that hit me up, hey, my daughter has a competition, can you light your vela and do some wiki? I go, of course I will.
They won.
And they won.
I know.
And they won.
This last segment was brought to you by Zyrtec.
And wiki. And wiki.
I don't know you had a sponsor.
Hey, listen.
We should get that sponsor. That'd be great.
And then another friend of mine hits me up and says, hey, man, it's been 30 days. I've got COVID. I'm not doing well. It hit me hard. And
30 days.
Yeah, 30 days. And 30 days in the hospital. And I said, hey, man, one of the healthiest people that I know. And I said, hey, man, sorry to hear that. I'm going to light the vela. It's not religious or nothing like that. It's just me putting the energy with healing energy going towards you for what that's worth to you. I'm going to do that. And then he said, that means so much to me. I appreciate it and thank you. And so I did, and a day later they got out of the hospital. I'm not saying that it's because of what I did, but they got out of the hospital.
But the good intention was just a bonus,
correct?
Right?
And so, yes, absolutely. And so then in the process of doing all that, I said all that to say this. In the process of doing all that, there was a lot of wiki going on. And when I did the wiki, even talking about it, I start getting chills. And the minute I start getting chills, I'm like, okay, this is confirmation that this is the right track. This is the way that I'm going, right? And I told you about the backyard and how, I go back there. Well, I was back
the haunted backyard.
So I'm back there the other day, and I don't think it's bad haunting. I think there's good energy. And so because I've talked to a few people now, right? And the other day, I had a dream about my dad on the 12th, okay? August 12th. And super vivid dream. And to the point where a few days later, I still remembered it, and I wrote it down. I wrote down the things that stood out from it. Then I'm, a few weeks later, I'm for days or whatever, I'm stretching, and I've been doing the wiki on the road. I've been doing the intentions and a lot of stuff. So it's almost like what you said about the whole 24/7 thing, right? And so I then start realizing things that are reminding me of my dad, and I'm like, okay, so I dreamt this dude to the point where I wrote down the dream. It means nothing to me right now. Like, well, this is just crazy talk. And I'm in the backyard the other night, and I was like, and plus a few other things had happened that reminded me of him, right? And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Dreamed him, then this, and then I realized, fuck, this guy's birthday is on the 31st, which is tomorrow.
Oh, he's the same birthday as my religious birthday.
Mm-hmm. And
random.
And so then...
Look, I got the chills too. That's weird.
And so then I'm like, okay, you want something. And I came to bed. I never get cold. I run hot, And fucking freezing in the bed. And Chiki touches me. She goes, oh, my God, you're freezing. And I'm like, And then I said, I think, I go, I said, I think my dad's trying to tell me something. And then she goes, dude, everything is just ice cold on you. And even with the blankets, I wasn't warming up. And I was like, and I just looked up and I go, he's here. He's fucking here. And then I go, in my head, I said, ¿Qué quieres? Like, what's going on, dude? Like, I know it's your birthday. And he told me he wanted a beer. So I'm going to take a beer to the beach tomorrow morning. And then he told me what the dream meant.
Nice.
And I was like, whoa, dude. Like...
And you were awake this whole time?
The whole time awake. Chiki's right there next to me, and I'm telling her, like, dude, he's talking to me. Yeah. He's talking to me right now. Like, this is like, I see what they say about, talking to the muertos now. Like, because I've talked to them, but nobody had ever really talked to me until recently. I've had two different people speak to me in ways that were like, oh, shit. Okay.
And are you doing that thing that all of us do where we do these dumb tests? Like people who are empaths or psychic, we always do this. Or you have an inkling to be like that. Okay, if this happens, it meant this. Mm-hmm. If I'm everybody does it, like who's spiritual. If I'm walking, if this happens, then it meant this. Because you kind of feel like you're making it up.
Sure.
So then you'll do these little tests.
Like if this is true, then I'm going to see a red car or whatever the hell it is. Or whatever it is.
If this is what I'm supposed to do, then this. Mm-hmm. Or,
Yeah, no. It was clear. It was very clear because there's times where you're like sitting there and you're like, something comes to you and you're like, fuck did that come from? There's like that divine inspiration, mm-hmm. maybe whatever you want to call it, that thing that just hits you and you go, like you might be riding and you have your camera and something says, you know what, turn right here, and then you turn and before you know it's like, oh shit, this is here. This is
or what made him pick 2020 to start taking a picture a day.
Yeah.
Correct. And so, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I get it. And it only happened, I feel, because I started taking the candle on the road. I started making time to deal with this and working with the spirit world and things like that. But for the first time, I felt like, holy shit. And then the dream itself, I'm like, everything that I wrote was like, there's a bunch of details of that dream that I left out that I forgot. But the things that I wrote as, this is what I remember. Why am I remembering? Why is this sticking out so bad, so much? And then he was very clear on what it all meant. And I was just like, you know, and it pertains to somebody else and myself. So I don't want to put anything on blast like that. You know, it's a private moment. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this is
Did you get scared?
I did not.
When you heard it?
I did not.
That's good.
I did not. I felt like, all right, fucker. I get it. I you know what?
No me hables así.
Nah, dude.
He's ahora me traes dos.
You know, I like, all right, we're okay. I see it. Like, wow. And then I felt like, you know, here I am looking for communication in the spirit world with other ancestors. And I kind of had dismissed him. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's there, but
he is not easily
this
dismissed.
lunatic, this. And then instead of this lunatic, I started realizing just, holy shit, this DNA that this fucking guy had. And just incredible, you know. He shouldn't have survived. Never should have survived in this planet. But yet he did. And not only did he, but to the point where he has great-grandchildren. He was the last male Moreno. That's it. It was done. It was fucking, like, he looked at me and he couldn't wait till I had uso de razón to tell me, all right, I did my job. It's up to you now. Like, he was so stressed that that's it, that to pass it on, you know. None of his brothers had kids or sons anyway. And so it's interesting to see that sperm, that DNA that was in that sperm that ended up then, you know, producing me and my 4 sisters, and then you start thinking about that. So the other day I posted something about how everybody thinks that you're the sperm that won the race, and now studies show that the egg repels sperms cells and draws other ones. So that what kind of communication is happening there with that DNA, with that energy, to say this one, you know, and it was just so many things that clicked in my head that made sense, and so I just wanted to, you know, on here on the podcast say that you facilitated a lot of that, whether you were there or not when it happened. You facilitated a lot of it and are responsible for a lot of that. So thank you for
you're
that. You're
welcome.
You know,
I like that. And I like that you're not so cynical anymore, because that was hindering you. We cannot be cynical because people do follow a lot of dumb religions. And any religion that, let's just take Catholicism, where the priests don't have sex, and then there's just, you know, it's not going to work out right. But I feel like we also can't shit all over people because they're just holding on to hope. And I feel
sometimes it's all they know.
It's all, and it's how they were raised, and it's like there's such a connection between poverty and religion, right? It's like that's why they say religion is the opioid of the masses, right? But like, I feel that once you are more open to things, then you facilitate something in yourself where you can like connect with things for yourself. And I think the fact that you don't get scared is because you already have something in you. Like, I joke around with you a lot. Like, I mean, I don't think you're the second coming of Christ or anything, but I do think that's you. That's you. But I do think that you definitely have, like, I tell you, like, I definitely think that in your cuadro espiritual, there's a preacher, there's like a reason for all these things. And then people, like, just because I'm a witch doesn't mean I don't get like freaked out by things. But I think that when you know something is for you, it doesn't scare you. Like, I think that the thought that wiki, I think people think I'm like killing a chicken every day. That's not it. Like, for me, wiki is I wake up, I go to my altar, I focus. Okay, what am I supposed to do here? I have all these things going on. What? Guide me. And I'm trying really hard right now to not let my ego guide me. So that's what I ask for all the time. Like, don't let me move in, because you'll get people message you and they're like, oh, what you did worked for me and what you did. And I'm like, man, I'm fucking great. I'm fucking great. So now I'll pick a prayer that talks about, don't let my ego guide me. Let me stay the way I started. God, I want you guys to guide me and tell me what I'm supposed to do, because I don't know shit. If I didn't have a connection with the muerto, if I wasn't able to see spirits, my life would be different. Like, and everything is connected. Like, Martin and I met. Now your dad's birthday is the same as my santo birthday. That's so weird, right? And then but I'm glad. And when you tell me things like that, I go home and I tell my mom, and mom's like, she likes that part, And she told you, I remember, she was like, you don't have to do nothing because he's going to tell you in your dreams what he wants you to do. And you don't have to do this. And because sometimes people just need a guide, right? Like a little flashlight. I'm the little flashlight. That's all I am. Like, maybe go this way. Maybe don't shit all over those people, Martin. Wait, we're just kidding, Martin, But I think that's awesome.
Some people smoke weed when they wake up. They wake and bake. Thanya wakes and wikis.
I wake and wiki.
That's a good one. That's a good T-shirt.
I think that's why I don't do drugs.
Wake and wiki.
Wake and wiki. Yeah.
I think that's why I don't do drugs. I think I would get scared. Like, imagine if I got high and then something else spiritual would happen. It would freak me the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, it would freak me out. Ezone gave us the remember when he was here, and then I was doing something for Leguan Monday. And then Jerry walks in. He's like, don't light that shit because you're going to be on your ass. And I was like, oh, fuck. I thought it was just a cigar. Okay, I'll just leave it there. Thanks, E-Zone. But, I think spiritualism comes in a lot of forms. I think taking pictures is very spiritual. Very spiritual,
which is, I think we've touched on a lot of things here, Rafa. And I just want you to, to know that, again, I respect the shit out of you and your journey. It's been an incredible journey. Anybody that comes from the hood and is able to survive the hood in the way that we all did, there's something there. There's something there. There's a lot of people that I'm sure that we've lost to prisons, that we've lost to drugs, and that we've lost to violence. That's the one common thread that we have. And when the older you get, you start appreciating that you're still here and you have a higher purpose, and there's what is that reason, and your photography is I feel, whether you say to yourself, because you said to me, well, I'm not a spiritual this or that. I think you are. I really think you are. And I think that you're the message that you convey through those photographs is more powerful than some of the messages that people do with words.
Wow. Thank you. I try to stay connected in my own way. I try to use my own intuition and heart and, mind to guide me. And, I do a few things like light sage or Palo Santo and carry some crystals all the time.
So you light sage and Palo Santo?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But those are little things that I've learned from observing other people. And, I know. I
love sage.
So, yeah, it's so good. And, and I still, because I grew up Catholic, still sometimes, me persino and I say thank this and thank that. And that's because it's in our... It's more of a reflex sometimes. Like when you get on the freeway, and you're like, it's like, why do you do that? I go, it's a reflex. And if I don't do it, I don't feel right again, So
then
it's
you should do whatever
I have to
makes
kind
you
of do it. Yeah.
I did it for many years until I think I told you, I shared the story about being on the plane and something speaking to, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, if I have that moment one day, then I'll be cool with it.
I'd get on the plane, I'd do this, que la sombra de San Pedro se pone, nos proteja, que blah, blah, blah.
You used to do more than most, because I remember going on planes in Meporcino, and sometimes still, maybe Meporcino. My dad is 74, never big on praying, started praying before he eats. My mom and my dad are separated. We went to dinner. My mom looked at my dad and was like, you're bullshitting me, right? Like in the middle of him praying. And I was like, don't do that. Wow. And she's like, ay, por favor, ¿qué es esto? Yeah. Don't thank God Tanya's buying it. And I was like, don't do that to him. If he feels like he wants to start doing that, then let him.
So when the persinar thing is a very interesting concept, right? The sign of the cross, right? Mm-hmm. And when you do it, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. You ever thought about what you're doing?
You touch your heart, your brain, or your third eye, your heart, and maybe.
Is it north, south, east, west?
North, south, east, west as well.
The direction.
It's north, south, east, west, right?
Yeah, the north, south, which is how every temple that the Aztecs fashioned back in the day were done. With you'd come out and the plaza was the center, and then you'd have the north, south, east, and west, los puntos cardenales, right?
Which we believe in Santeria a lot.
So that's the common thread with every pagan religion as well as the Judeo-Christian religions is that north, south, east, and west.
Right?
The elements. Now they don't. The elements have lost their translation along the way and have become en nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. And that is a little different than the puntos cardenales or the north, south, east, and west, and the energies that come from those directions, right? The energies that come from the east, right? And so in the west you've got the ocean, the blue, and
the rivers, the mountains.
The east you've got the sun. You got the so it's all connected, and you're right. You shouldn't shit on it. It's hard not to. It's hard not to because they make it so easy to shit on them, especially the televangelists. I can't stand those motherfuckers,
Stop watching them.
I love them, though. It's like
he watches
it's
them.
My guilty fucking pleasure,
He's
dude.
addicted to
There's
those
a new
people.
movie coming out on Tammy Faye Baker.
I love her.
Yeah.
I love her, by the way. I love watching anything that has her in it. I
Do
think
you
it's like a train
know
wreck.
that her husband,
Jim?
Yeah, well, her ex-husband was selling blankets recently.
Wow. Like the pillow guy? Or
better?
What were they curing you of? He's alive?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know
He's
that.
paying a multi-million-dollar lawsuit right now because he was selling some water to cure you from COVID during the pandemic. The guy is to watch him is
salt of the earth.
Fucking art.
Wow. Salt of the earth.
It's fucking art. What he does is nothing less than art. I mean, the fact that he's been bamboozling for decades and nobody's onto him is a fucking...
Well, people are onto him, but he still has followers.
Dude, they're not onto him. They're not. There's some people that are onto him, and we're just the haters. Everybody else is out there getting their blessing.
He's just lucky that sometimes happy coincidences happen, I think, in those people's lives, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's what happened to me.
His commercial for the blanket was fascinating. It's a miracle blanket for $1,000.
Está cabrón. Like, that's a lot of money.
This blanket, the miracles that this blanket has, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, and he says, oof, if you've got your bills, put them under this blanket.
And don't look at them again, or what the hell?
Put under this blanket, and
don't look
mortgages are getting paid with this blanket.
Just his.
Mortgages are getting his mortgage is getting paid with the goddamn blanket. He's selling $1,000 blankets, and I'm like, are you crazy right now? Are you crazy?
But people will really, I don't know. And it's so weird, right? Because people will buy that shit and they won't buy other shit that makes sense or donate to help a kid or like
$30 ice cream for Cuba.
Yeah, or $30 ice cream for Cuba. But like, no. I thought he was dead. I really thought he was dead.
No, he's out there. I'll send you the clip.
In case you want to
in case you want
to order one.
In case you want to order a blanket and pay your mortgage.
I'll be like, Jerry, this is what I want for Christmas. This little blanket.
The balls. The fucking size.
But what's the difference between that blanket and people who will sell you this water and tell you it's money water? They come in all shapes and sizes.
Spray it.
And they can spray it.
Spray this water. And before you know it, so many blessings coming your way, Papi.
That is not how it works at all. There is no magic pill.
Yeah, it is. It's called Viagra.
Not even that one sometimes. You took a picture, and then on your 100th picture, it got better, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you keep going. Yeah.
Same thing with spiritualism. Yeah. Right now, you hear your dad. let's say you keep going, you do ceremonies,
Practice.
you'll hear more people. And you'll learn how to turn them off. Because
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's draining.
And sometimes, like you and I have had that conversation where I'll be like, I'll turn everything off. I don't want to know anything. Like, I just want to go have a drink. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know what this person's life. But then sometimes the nudging is so like intense with what I need to say, it'll bother me. Like it'll physically, I'll feel uncomfortable. So then that also takes practice. Like, how do you turn this off? Like, you know, because even if you know things or you're psychic, sometimes you don't want to know, right? Like my grandmother got very sick and I knew she wasn't going to make it. That's not something I want to know. I want to be like everybody else and keep hoping, you know? But I think that once you develop that, you hear everybody else and then you'll trip out.
Yeah.
Because then you'll see people. And then when I was younger, my mom, I went out on a date with somebody and he showed up to the house and he was on the couch and my mom's like, oh, you're back. Never had gone out with this guy in my life. And he's like, huh? And she's like, you went on a date with Thanya like last week. And he's like, I've never been here in my life. And I'm like, hello?
That was Robert.
She was trying to get you in trouble.
Right? I was like, hello? And then I came back, whatever, him and I are still friends. And I came back and then my mom's like, his face looks so familiar. So I showed her a picture. And she's like, that's not the face I saw. He looked like this. And then we became friends. And then he started getting consulted with my mom. And then, you know, we figured it out. But she was like, that's not the face I saw. Like you have a very like nomad energy about you, like a traveler, like somebody, and kind of like Moroccan.
I don't have a passport.
Like no, you have an energy about you that like people who like wander around. So, you know,
I walk a lot.
You don't need to
and
have
it's the beard and the hair too.
No, not so much. Because I think when you walk, you're not scared.
No.
And I think a lot of people, when they walk, they are scared. So I think that where you walk, a lot of people would not be okay with it.
You know what's funny?
But you feel okay.
You know what's hysterical? We had that conversation the last time I saw him because he says, I ride my bike or I'll be down here and I'll be like, he goes, and it's late at night and I go, not afraid to get jacked? And he's like, no. I mean, if anything,
more afraid of the cops.
I'm more afraid of the cops, he said to me.
But not even lately, like the cops back in the days. Now,
they're different now.
Yeah. And I'm like, but that's the same thing I said, you know, because most people through those neighborhoods would be like, man, fuck that shit, you know. But yeah, it's some people just have. I remember I roamed the streets of Wilmington my entire youth, you know.
And never a thought.
Never even crossed my mind that something could happen to me until I got way older and I'm like, the fuck was I doing?
I grew up in Linwood. I used to go to the Compton swap meet all the time. We'd walk there from school, right? Like I grew up right on Agnes and Bullis. On the other side is Long Beach, where all the hoes were. And the other day I took my son.
The oracles.
Or the oracles. I took my son to some place that sells food there, right? And Nick was like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, I don't want to get out of the car. And I'm like, don't be dramatic. And he's like, Mom, it's late at night. And I was like, what the fuck? I used to come here when I was like 14 by myself, walked up and down.
Yeah.
And then Jerry told me, yeah, you're not him.
Yeah, it's
he's
different.
Not you.
Our
I
kids
was
are
like,
not like that. Yeah.
I grew up kind of, but
Thug.
never worried, which has helped me. Never worried about it. But I think there's people who go out and they feel scared, right? They feel apprehensive. But I wouldn't see you feeling like that. You seem comfortable.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like, you know, I'm very comfortable around the areas that I grew up in. And sometimes if I venture out, it's a little, you know, the fuck am I doing over here? I shouldn't be around here. But for the most part, you know, I guess I'm also just chill, and I try not to look for any trouble either. So
estás in you know, a phase of your life where it's like, I think, you know, as we get older, and I think I'm a little older than you
by like 10 years.
By 10. Is it 10?
No, I'm going to be 50 in October.
Okay, so we're pretty much around the same
close,
goddamn age. Yeah, I'm 3 years older than you. When you get to that age, magical things happen. Not just
marvelous
in the spirit
things
realm,
will happen.
Nice.
That's my favorite line from James and the Giant Peach.
When you get to what age?
The older you get, like when you get to your 40s and your 50s, there's this thing that happens where you start realizing the shit that you thought mattered doesn't. You know, and it just becomes more magnified as you get older.
I called it 2040 vision when I turned 40.
Yeah.
It was the first time that I could actually like see something happening and be like, as a 40-year-old, I understand it this way, but I can also see it how I saw it when I was 20.
Correct.
So you kind of like, you reanalyze everything.
Every single
20,
thing.
40
you know,
vision.
when you get out of high school, you know, and then you look back when you're 23, 24, and you've got bills and you've got this and you've got that, you're like, what the fuck was I stressing about that bullshit? That was crazy talk. That never stops happening with the perspective and perception.
Well, like the hindsight is clearer, right?
Correct, yeah. And there's more to compare it to now. There's more experiences to draw on than you've got way more tools. Hopefully you've acquired way more tools to deal with things by a certain age where you're like, and the hardest part of that is dealing with people who don't have those tools yet, because you want them to be where you're at, but they're not, and they can't. It's impossible because and you get frustrated with that because you're like, ¿Cómo no ves esto, pendejo o pendeja? You know, how are you, you know, but and you have to learn. I think the hardest part is learning that patience to be more understanding with dumb fucks. Or I'm not shouldn't say dumb, with inexperienced people. I'm trying.
That's okay. You're amongst friends.
What he meant to say was...
Oh, shit. You know what I meant.
The
you know
kosher version of that is to allow everybody to have their own journey,
correct,
at their own time.
Yes. Everybody goes at their own pace, at their own thing. Like, when you tell me that you burn sage and that you burn Palo Santo, do you do that in order to meditate, in order to cleanse? What is your, you know, if you don't mind sharing, what is it that you do with your crystals and such?
I mostly just do it to like clean the air around me. Like that's what I believe that it does. Like just cleans the air around me, and like if I'm feeling a bad vibe or something, you know, I'll just, you know, do a little sage and do a little Palo Santo, or I also carry just crystals in my pocket all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I started.
These are your people, right?
Just these are the ones I have today.
Oh,
but
rose quartz.
I started about, I don't know, like 2 years ago, and I kind of always carry these or some amethyst, and these are the only two I know really. But I have other ones that I just pick up. You know, it's just out of
2 years ago you started.
Yeah.
What got you to do that?
Well, I went to, of all things, a sound bath.
I want to do that.
Oh my God.
I've never done that.
So
I want to do that.
amazing. I almost like had an emotional breakdown the first time. Just like
I hear that from everybody that does the sound bath.
Yeah. And it's really good. And well, the person that does it at the beginning gives you, when you lie down, they put a little rose quartz on your chest.
To open up your heart chakra.
Yeah. Or no, when you walk in, they say
chakra or chakra?
Chakra.
I don't know. I'm Mexican.
Chakra.
Sorry, indigenous.
They have a bowl of crystals when you walk in, and they say, go ahead and pick one. And that's the one that you put on your chest when you lie down. And but the sound bath is amazing, yeah.
I like that. Like you're picking your own destiny.
Yeah.
Where did you have the sound bath?
Willie from East I Love, his wife does it. Yeah.
Is she still doing it?
Yeah. And her mother is Reiki as well. And
oh, I love Reiki. I just had a session.
You think she'd be down to come on here and talk about the sound bath thing? Or no?
I can connect you.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's do a sound bath. Forget the caminal. Let's go do a sound bath.
Go do a sound bath and ask her.
I want to do that.
Okay. Does she do groups? Or
yeah.
is it
no,
one-on-one?
Didn't they sell Eastside Love though? Doesn't Eastside Morales own it now?
That was an April Fool's joke.
You're lying.
You're over here telling people. Eastside.
No, I really have heard that somebody that
was an April Fool's joke.
Because the guys across the street who own the M Bar.
I know. I used to work there. It was a joke.
Oh,
it was an April Fool's joke.
I've been there. I like the burlesque show.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We did shows there.
Oh, I like that girl. The burlesque girl you guys had was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was good.
So she does she has a crystal store actually, and it's about this size, the floor. and she gets like 30 to 50 people like lying down, and she does the sound, and her mother or other people do the Reiki. So you get
at
like
the same time.
You get a little bit of like they go around to every person. You get like 2 minutes each of Reiki.
Is this
for a 1 hour sound bath?
Is this place called Aurora Vital? No. Okay. I heard of a place just like this in Montebello.
God, I haven't been since before the pandemic, so I forgot the name. Something light. It's in Los Feliz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely let us know. We'll go do it, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, they also do one-on-ones if you want, but they do.
I like
maybe
that.
They don't do groups right now because of COVID.
Or maybe a small group.
Or she was doing online too. She was doing like
I don't want to do online.
I don't like online stuff.
Yeah.
No.
But I'm sure that they'll do one-on-ones, yeah.
No.
Although I will say that you can get consulted online and it does work, but it doesn't work the same as if you're in person. But with Reiki and sound baths, I feel like I have ADD. I have like adult ADD, and I'm like, oh, what are we gonna do now? And then I won't pay attention.
No.
Really?
Like you just boom, you knock out. It's called Sacred Light. I remember now. Sacredlight.com. You can remember. You lie down, and once they start, just the sound just focuses you.
Have you heard of? Okay, I want to tell you guys. This is so weird. So I've been looking into this thing. There are salt caverns in like West Virginia where people go and they sit you in these salt caverns and you meditate, and they're natural salt caverns, and it's supposed to be like a sound bath, but it's natural sound. Like they don't add anything to it, but they say that the energy from the salt caverns are supposed to like re-energize you and kind of have the effect that sage has on a space on your body. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
I just saw that. I'm so in it. Like I so want to go do that.
Virginia.
But I want to Virginia. It's all out that way because I've had a lot of American witches message me about Santeria, and they've like been nice enough to share some things with me that they practice, and that was one of the things that I was like, oh, that is so interesting, like to sit, because it sounded like a sound bath to me a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Oh, I like that.
Because they use crystal bowls. The bowl is made out of crystal too, if I'm not mistaken, and they,
yeah, they're made out of selenite.
Yeah, and they have different ones, so there's different like
frequencies.
The sound bowls, right? The singing bowls.
Yeah, singing bowls.
Singing bowls. Yeah, we have one at the house.
I have a little one. I have two at home, a E and F.
They're hard to do. They're actually, it takes a lot.
I should have brought it. Now I want.
Yeah, it takes a lot more than what people think, right? Because we bought some, and I tried to do it, but I'm all thumbs. I was like, ah. But Eugenia, of course, was like, she made it work. But yeah, okay. So you had that done, and then it like opened you up to.
Well, that's what being there, because it's a crystal shop, got me into crystals, and so every time I went, I would collect one, and so I just keep them. And when I leave the house, I just carry one or two.
Have you gone back for more sound baths?
I did, but at the pandemic, I haven't been since. So
I've been
the Reiki
very
is like
curious
also
to do it.
amazing.
Yeah,
I like Reiki too.
Yeah,
I had a Reiki sound bath treatment over in Santa Monica at one point, which is what put me on the journey to Reiki. And I'll tell you, man, it was life-changing. Like, when I got out of there, I felt like I could float. I felt like part of me had been healed.
You feel taller.
You feel
You're
so...
walking like an...
It's just... it's an undescribable feeling. Very euphoric, I think is a good word for it. And, yeah, it was, that actually opened up for more crystals. Like now, I don't know how many crystals and stones I have. Back then, it was like, just maybe 1, 2, 3, and now it's like, and, but it once it starts, it fucking snowballs. It snowballs, and the crystals call each other. Like you'll draw to you whatever it is that you need. That crystal will call other crystals that you need in your life for some reason.
I do think that crystals, like, why online I sell crystals, and I do think that like sometimes I'll go pick up crystals, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna keep this, and it's very specific what I keep. Like it's very weird.
Do you ever pick them up and be like, oh, that one doesn't feel right?
Yes, I used to think people were. I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to think people were full of shit. Like, right, pinche crystal. Okay, come on. No, it's true. Or sometimes I'll go to places because I buy in mass, right? So I'll go to places, and when people have handled them too much, I'm like, I don't like this. When I was little, my mom used to get rocks and put them close to my cheek and tell me when they're really cold, they're alive. And I just met with a guy from Utah who I buy crystals from, and he's like, put the crystal to your cheek. If it's cold, it's alive.
How do you clean the crystal's energy?
So it just depends what kind of crystals you have. If you have a lot of amethyst and rose quartz, you can put them out in a moon bath, like the light from the moon. You can put them out to the sun for a little bit, like an hour or so. I see a lot of people putting their crystals in salt. I don't do that. I don't do Himalayan salt. I don't like to do work with a lot of salt. Okay. Just because in Santeria it means something different to us. Some crystals can be submerged in moon water. It just depends, but with the ones that you like, you could just the moon, the sun.
That's a good idea.
And then you could also sage them,
Yeah.
But I like them to get.
I've saged them before, but I didn't know the moon and the sun. That's
I like them to so I'll get like a big. I have quite a few, so I'll get like a big thing, and I'll take them out when there's a full moon. I'll leave them all outside. I'll light a candle, glass of water, good intention. Yeah. And then I try for people not to touch them. I've now moved all of my personal crystals to my bedroom. To my office. I have an office and it's separated by a wall.
So now you said that you should not have them by the headboard, right?
So you shouldn't have certain crystals in the space where you also have like sex and different things like that, because it picks up energy. That's what everybody who I've spoken to has told me. So I put mine, like I have an office and then my bedroom, but it's divided by a half wall. I put them on the other side of the wall. Because also in Santeria, Orisha altars should not be where you have sex. Not because we as Santeros think you should have all the sex you want, right? But we also think there's a level of respect that is reserved for Orisha. Yeah. So that's what they tell you. So, but yeah, I want to do the sound. That's so cool though. And I believe in, I had a Reiki session done in Baja.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I took Eugenia. So she took me, my mom, and we had a Reiki session done, and I was so skeptical. And now I'm like, I'm such an asshole. So I was there, and I was like, I guess, I was. So the guy starts, and he's like, okay. I'm like, all right.
How do you say Reiki in Spanish?
Reiki. I don't know.
The double R, the Reiki.
But the weirdest thing is,
Reiki.
This is the whole thing with asking to be humble. My mom took me to this place, and they took me into a garage, like a garage that they're building a Reiki center, but it wasn't complete. They had 2 massage tables. Look like, I was like, oh, fuck no. And my mom's like, do it. And I'm like, okay. So I do it. It was so good. I was like, oh my gosh. And the guy's like, totally, I could feel when he was like working my neck. He's like, do you feel that? Do you feel the ball of energy that is going out? And I was like, I can feel, because I told him, I can feel like you're pushing a ball. What is that? He's like, it's just because you're very spiritual. You could feel what I'm pushing out, but people don't feel the energy that way. Yeah. And it was so, and I was going to be such a jerk because they were so kind of haphazard, right? Yeah. But now he's my friend, so we're okay. But yeah, it was so good. I was like, oh my God, this is really good. I liked it. I liked it. I don't ever want to practice it though, or do it to people. I don't.
What's that, Reiki?
Yeah, and I took the class and I'm certified. I don't ever want to do that.
I'm glad that you told us about the sound bath, because I think that's the next thing that I want to do. I want to do the sound bath. Let's go sign up for a sound bath.
I'll hit her up.
Yeah, that'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
I wonder if she'll do like a small group, because we could do it at the house. Like we could do like or at our shop or whatever.
They do different, because I've asked before for myself, so they can do private or small groups or
the little sound bath party.
And they can move to you, or you can go to them.
I like it. Yeah. Okay.
They do like pop-up sound bath.
Pop-up sound bath. That should be a thing. That'd be good if you have the space. That'd be good. But before I forget, how did you start taking pictures? Because I want to know that.
I've taken photos as far back as I can remember, because in the 80s, everybody had the 110 camera.
Yes.
They look like a Neapolitan bar.
Yeah.
Like the ice cream sandwich. So I had one of those, and I played around with photography a lot. And like in elementary school, I got to like actually play with a film and make a photo and develop it and all that. And I kind of always just had a camera here and there, but it was expensive for a kid in East LA to like go out and develop film and do all that stuff. And I'd go to the stores and be like, holy crap, like this is amazing, but I can't any of it. So every once in a while I would borrow a camera. I would take some pictures. I'd develop a whole roll, give the camera back, and then maybe not do it again for another 6 months, whatever. But in 2009, I was also like a journalist. I'd been writing for the East LA College newspaper, and I started to write for a magazine downtown LA called Citizen LA. It was just around the arts district. And I decided that it was a small staff, so I was like, I want to take my own pictures. So I decided to buy a camera from the photo editor, and he was a really good guy, Rick Mendoza, amazing photographer. And he said, yeah, I have this camera. It's a Canon 10D, and it's 6.7 megapixels, which now every iPhone has like more than twice or maybe even 3 times that. So I bought that camera from him for $300, and I put one of my old lenses on it and shot 2010 every single day. So that was like I was like, okay, I have a computer now, I have a camera, and I can shoot every day, and I don't have to pay for developing anything. This is all I had to do. So what I said to myself at the end of 2009 was like, I want to do this every single day just to get better. And so January 1st, 2010, I did the 365 days. And that's why I did the 2020, because it was a 10-year anniversary of that.
And did you just shoot whatever you wanted, or was it like a theme? Whatever you wanted?
Whatever, yeah. Pretty much wherever I was at, I had my camera, and, people around me started to get tired of it, but it was fun back then. And I would shoot, about 1,000 pictures a day just to like get used to the camera and the controls, and, so that it became second nature.
Oh, wow.
That was the whole thing that I did. Yeah. Once there's only 3 things you really have to know. And once you know those 3 things, you could just move them around without looking at the camera, and you're good.
Dang, I'm horrible at pictures. That's awesome.
Practice.
My son really
Remember,
likes,
you could take one picture, and then if you take 1,000 pictures,
My son likes to take. I bought a bunch of cameras because he likes to take pictures, and he likes to record. He's very into recording things, even like things he should not record, like ceremonies. I'll find him hiding and recording.
Oh, he's a documentary.
And I'm like,
guy.
what are you doing? And he's That's like, awesome. For later. And I'm like, for later, nada. Do not do anything with that. He's like, it's just for me, Mom. And he'll like record things. Yeah. Even in Cuba, he was like, give me my phone. And I was like,
wants to document.
No,
that's good. That's a good instinct.
He asked for a camcorder, right? And I'm like, a camcorder? That's so weird.
Get him a little GoPro.
So I got him I should get him one of those. I got him like a camcorder, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go wherever I go now, I'm gonna record it. And
that's awesome.
Like, okay.
That's good. Watch this documentary called Val. Actually, you guys should both watch it. And watch it with your son too. It's Val Kilmer's story.
Oh, you saw it? I heard about that.
It's good.
I want to see that. I've heard it. That's like
now.
the third person to tell me that. Yeah.
As an artist, and just not only as an artist, but as an artist later in life. And you're like, when you're 18, like, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. When you're 20, things change, and when you're 30, things change. But as we mature and time goes by, like, life is gonna say, well, you can't do that anymore, and you can't do that, but you could still do something. And like, Val, like, courage that he had to do like what he did for this documentary, and it's all video that he took since he was young.
Holy shit.
So he had a video camera when they shot all those old movies, Top Gun and everything, and he has footage from all that.
And stills. He has a lot of prints and stills. And
now he's an artist and does different things, yeah.
Did you see the one with Soleil Moon Frye did that too, like 90s kid?
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too,
She had a bunch of video too.
She also, Punky Brewster.
Yeah, that was really good.
She had a video camera too, and she did a lot of that too with her friends. And then, but what she did was like bring those people that she videotaped way back then and like redid, kind of like, let's kick it and do the same thing.
It's like Fidel and the Cameraman in Cuba.
That's a great one too. Fidel and the Cameraman is
Have you seen that?
Fidel Castro?
Yeah. There's a cameraman who made like a weird friendship with him, I guess. Friendship?
Dude, it's a dude that went as a college student to Cuba during the revolution and met with kids and older people. And then every so many years he'd go back, and he documented this shit for decades.
Wow.
It is fucking...
That's why, let them go.
Right?
Just let them do it, because you never know, like, some of the things that, the more... So what I say with photography to young kids is, like, there's a rap song that says, ain't nobody fresher than my click, click, click. And I say, well, think of it like that. Like, ain't nobody fresher than your click, click, but keep clicking. Like, don't stop clicking, because the more clicks you get, the more pictures you have, the more you have to sort through, the more chances that you're going to find gold in there, you know, because literally you have to take hundreds of thousands of pictures, like a lot. Maybe I'll probably hit 1 million, you know, at one point. And it's just so many photos, but you sort through all this stuff and you find the jewels in there. But the same thing with like video, like a documentary, somebody might have, you know, 1,000 hours of footage that they look through to make 2 hours, you know. So the more that he collects, the more that he saves, the more that you're able to archive and make sure that it stays good, the better chance he has of like pulling something out of there, you know.
Well, that's cool. I'm gonna ease up on that then.
Yeah. I mean, respect the, you know,
no, yeah, because there's things you can film, like people go to Cuba all the time and they'll go to like parties we throw, a lot of European people, and they'll take pictures.
When I go to native things, I always ask permission first. You don't mess with that without, you know, asking permission, just out of respect for them.
Do you know the dancers over at Olvera?
Some of them.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about,
yeah. Do you know the
do I know them personally?
Yeah.
No. Do you want me to go say hi?
No, my sister dances with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And she learned under a guy, and I forget the guy's name. He's a general, they call him. But the guy is this really humble dude, but he is out at Olvera every fucking day. And I went to one of their practices, you know, they're out there jumping around and things. And it was like, she's been doing this shit for 30 years. Yeah. And it's
well, every single move, every single thing they do represents like some spirit.
Well, and they make their outfits, right?
Yeah, they make their outfits.
And they make their plumaje.
Everything.
And
everything.
the sonaje.
Yeah, it's fucking fascinating, actually. Like it gave me another level of admiration for what they do.
That's awesome.
But yeah, anyway, I just remember that because, you know, Olvera, I remember going out there and seeing those dancers, and just there's something, you know, that talks to, you know, part of our ancestors. I mean, that's our history, you know, that's been washed away, and now it's just this colorful fucking thing of motherfuckers jumping around. But that's what our ancestors, that was part of their thing.
Chiki says talk louder.
Oh, talk louder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now it's going to be October, so, you know, in downtown at the park, they'll put up all the, I don't know if they're going to do it because
Dia de los Muertos.
But they're going to put
no, they will. They did it.
The altars, right?
I think they did a little bit of it last year. Yeah.
A little bit, because I go every year.
Yeah. To Olvera?
It's actually at Grand Park, LA.
Grand Park, yeah.
Grand Park, and they'll put a bunch of altars. And I don't know how you get to make one, but...
Well, there's different organizations that get invited to do it, and every organization kind of makes their own.
Have you been to the cemetery where they do the Dia de Dead, and it's one of the biggest ones in the country?
At the Hollywood Forever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is an incredible display.
Did you ever go to Self-Help Graphics? They originated
East
the
LA.
whole thing.
I did not.
That's right by East LA College.
Yeah.
I went to East LA before I went to Cal State LA.
So Self-Help Graphics has moved from there now to First Street, but according to like all the history of like Day of the Dead, like they're one of the originators that helped bring that tradition to the United States, to Chicanos, to help them get more. The reason behind it was kind of weird, but they wanted to get more people involved in like the political stuff too. So like, what can we do to reach out to, you know, more Mexican people? So they were actually Chicanos trying to get more Chicanos involved, and one of the things they did was bring that tradition over, and it has a political history too.
I think that they had an altar at the Grand Park. They actually
they
had
have
an altar.
So there's all these little companies that do it around, and Self-Help Graphics has like the whole thing and the big stage.
Yeah, because I remember going last year, you know, it says whose it is.
Yeah.
But the Self-Help Graphic guys used to do a lot of stuff with like Quinto Sol and a lot of, I know, I went,
Those were fun.
They were.
Yeah.
They're still around.
Yeah.
That was my son's first concert.
Oh, really?
Quinto Sol?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mi vida loca.
Those guys are cool. But they believe in all that, like the whole like
Coco
movement.
Nice.
The movement.
The movement, that's a good word for it.
Right? Because it's like a movement. They believe in the movement. They're very ethnocentric, though.
The Dia de los Muertos thing, you know, I didn't grow up with it. It was not part of our home.
I don't think anybody around here like grew up with it, but
yeah.
now kids are growing up with it, but we didn't.
My parents, well, you grew up with muertos, so.
But it's big in Mexico City. My mom's from Mexico City.
So my mom, in the pueblo that she was at, on the Dia de los Muertos, they would take coronas to the gravesite, which coronas are the flower things, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so...
Not the beer.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's all 40.
And so...
I really thought the beer at first.
The coronas. They would take coronas to the people. And I'm going to take Budweiser to the beach for my dad tomorrow, actually. Last time I took him a Coors.
Nice.
But,
Switch it up.
Switch it up. He evolved to Budweiser, so I'll take him a Bud. But yeah, it's I didn't grow up with it, and then once I got to Cal State LA, and you start getting into that whole Chicano, even at Harbor College in Wilmington when I was taking classes there and taking some, Chicano literature.
I didn't know Martin went to school.
He's very estudiado, eh? Martin is very estudiado.
I stopped by.
Well, that's what happened to me too. Like I was just a kid running around the streets, tagging on walls until I went to East LA College and took Chicano studies. And I was like, holy fuck, like this shit is intense and it's deep and it's something that we should all know too,
Dude, I read history of Mexico and the United States. I read, a lot of things with obviously the conquest, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Toltecs, the Olmecs. I mean, it just fascinated me. I could not get enough. I couldn't get enough. And to this day, it still fascinates me, to learn about it. And it shocks me to realize how little a lot of people know about the history of Mexican Americans, or Mexican Americans themselves. How a lot of it gets lost, and they just don't give a shit about it.
Gets whitewashed and like thrown away and like put in the back and. Yeah.
Well, like you're brought up because I took Chicano studies classes in East LA College too. Great, but I also think that my mom is green-eyed, very fair, and I remember that she would be like, and Mexico's very rich and we have a lot of things. And I'd be like, yeah, right, Mom. And then you start going and you're like, hold on, like you're treated like these ignorant people, but we brought the concept of zero indoor plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
They, like things that were like showing you that we were advanced as a society. Not only were we advanced, but we were spiritual and we were clean. And cleanliness was not on the highest priority back then. Like it was very on the bottom, but they were so evolved that they even took that into consideration. Like, that's amazing. That the whole culture is amazing.
Mayans wore condoms.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
I'm like, what?
Sheepskin.
I'm like, what?
Maybe sheepskin.
How did not die?
No.
I'm like, what happened? Martin.
No, but yeah, dude, it is fascinating. And look, Chicano studies as a whole is beyond fascinating to me till this day, and I know that
if you think about it, any culture, once you dive into it and really learn, you're blown away by it. But
it now the thing, they had the mecha clubs, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember the mecha club was all the Chicanos, was all the lowriders and the cholos who was in part of the Chicano club or the mecha club when I went to Wilmington Junior High, right? And then you get to college, and then you see the mecha club is still there, right? And mecha stands for Movimiento Estudiantil Chicanos de Aztlán. That's what mecha stands for. Yeah?
Yeah.
And now they have a doctrine, right? That is, these are our
bylaws kind of a thing?
Their dogma or whatever it is that you want to call it, right?
Mission statement.
Their mission statement, thank you. And so there was I forget the guy's name, right around the Gray Davis time. Remember when Gray Davis got recalled and Arnold Schwarzenegger took over as governor? There was a lieutenant governor, Latino. I forget his name. It might have been Becerra. I'm not going to say what the name was because I forgot. I can't remember. He was going to be the first Chicano governor. Like, he had everything lined up for him. He got, unfortunately, blackballed because they tied him to the Mecha Club in college, where he was just trying to be,
Yeah, and Mecha had that one line in there that said that we'll take this country back or something like that.
This is Aztlan.
Yeah.
This is Aztlan, the rightful land of the Aztecs, and we will take it back by any means necessary. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't know exactly what the line was.
I paraphrased even more, but
but
exactly. I remember that.
Yeah, and so that they said, well, he's tied to this hate group that claims that California is this mythical land, Aztlan.
Yeah, they made Mecha sound like KKK.
Correct. Much. They really villainized.
Or like the Church of Scientology, like this mythical place. Worse. Yeah. And that disqualified this poor guy. He would have had an amazing political
career. It was like a good example of like fake news back then. Just how they made the whole thing seem.
And
like
back then you couldn't research shit. You couldn't look at shit. There wasn't a whole lot of options.
And they're going to kill you.
They're here to kill you. They're here. They believe that this belongs and there's going to be an invasion by these Mexicans, and they scared the shit out of everybody. And this poor guy.
And the guy lost.
Huh?
Yeah. And he lost.
Of course, he didn't even get a chance. He didn't even get a fighting chance. Dang. And again, that's crazy that you remember that.
Well, I remember once you brought up that the writing in there. I remember that happened.
Yeah. And basically, all he was a typical dude, a typical brown dude that's going to college.
Yeah, and you go to Mecha.
And you go to Mecha because these are the guys that are trying to move you ahead, that are trying to show you, hey, man, maybe your parents didn't have the whereabouts to guide you because they've never been here before. Come here, we will help you, we will guide you, we will, we'll show you what it is, what steps you need to go to further your education past this, to the point where he gets to the freaking governor's office, and then they shut the door on him because... Oh, you want to take over fucking Aztlan, you motherfucker? You goddamn colonizer. I mean, they flipped the script. You uncolonizing son of a bitch. And unfortunately, the dude's political ambitions were shut down after that.
That sucks. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I just remember that if you went to East LA College, like you
automatically went there by default.
Everybody was part of that. Like, what are you talking about? Even if you took, 3 Chicano studies classes, like that's where everybody was at. So even when I transferred, like even in Cal State LA, like it still was so predominant.
Yeah, I remember going to Cal State LA.
And I wasn't like, it wasn't as radical.
And back when I went is when that whole all the Zapatistas were protesting the NAFTA thing, and they were all in Chiapas, and they had the Comandante Marcos. And,
ZLN.
Yes, and they...
I haven't heard that in a very long time.
And I remember that it was this huge movement. We're talking late 80s, early 90s, where there was this huge movement of no somos Latinos. Latinos son los bla bla bla, no somos hispanos. Hispanos son los bla 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 bla. Somos Chicanos. And I'm like, God damn. Chicano.
Like, yes, we are, God damn it.
Yes. I went to an Aztec New Year celebration at the old county jail underground.
Oh yeah. I was probably there.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, I used to go to those things there.
Okay, so they had this celebration, and then they had these guys dressed like Zapatistas collecting for the cause. And then I went with some friends.
I think I went to something there later.
Like, it had to be like 94-ish, right?
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. And I remember going, Rafa, and it's the big thing was there was going to be this Indian chief doing the ceremony at the end of the night, right? But during the whole thing, they had these like poems, like these poets were doing poetry, and they were burning copal and burning sage. And I remember this chick up there, and I'll never forget. I remember this line like it was yesterday. They're rattling something, like, and then they go, I live, Mexicana, Chicana, Lesbiana. And like I was just sitting there like, whoa, okay. And I live.
This has stayed with you for how many years?
Since the 90s, dude. And so at least 30.
That's when you start to like realize like, wow, there's other things outside of my world.
And so and then it's like, so they do that, and then we're going to this and this, and then all of a sudden everybody's gathered in the yard, and there's this big fire, and they do this introduction for this Indian chief who's going to speak to us on the Aztec New Year. And now here he is, Chief, blah, blah, blah. They give the motherfucker the microphone, and the guy fucking, hello. I am not very good with words.
Ah, it's beautiful.
And I'm like sitting there like, huh? I was expecting just to be blown away by what this chief was going to freaking say. I was like, you son of a bitch. What do you mean you're not good with words? You're the keynote speaker. You're the guy doing the speech. You fuck.
He wanted Deepak Chopra.
Angry.
Yeah.
I was so angry. I felt so let down. I felt like, you know, like, I'm going to tear it up. I'm going to fuck the shit out of you. And then like one pump done. You know?
Seems like I'm out of here.
What the fuck is this?
That's hilarious.
You know? Yeah, dude. It was, I'll never forget that night. It was a super impressionable night. We had dinner. It was I went with this dude who was a DJ. We're from Harbor College, and this chick named Rebecca who gave me this book called War of the Witches that I thought was a fantastic goddamn book. If you ever get a chance to read War of the Witches, read it. And my friend Cindy, who was dating this Cholo who passed away since then. Cholo was crazy. I remember he wanted to fuck up Tierra, the guys from Tierra, because we went to go see Tierra.
Who remembers these things?
And he signed the thing, love, blah blah blah.
Like,
and
what the fuck do you mean, love?
He went over and confronted the Tierra guys, and he said, "Hey, who put love on my old lady's picture?" Eh? Like he was that guy, right? And I remember he had just gotten out of prison. He had done like I don't know how many years in prison. He had just gotten out, spent like God knows how many years in the hole, and now this guy's out, right? And I had this at the time. I had the CD player, and I had you pulled it out, and it had like about 5 different CDs, and I had a remote, you know, and I thought, you know, I'm playing fucking. He's like, "Oh, orale, that's fucking bad, eh?" And so I made, and I was so proud of myself. I made spinach fettuccine with some Alfredo sauce, right, and some chicken, and some sausage. No, I put some sausage in there, right? And he goes, "Hey." And I'm hearing him talking, and he's shitting on my food. And this motherfucker's like, "Hey, you put weenies in the spaghetti, huh?" And then I'm like, and she's like, "No, there's sausage." And he goes, "It looks like he ironed that spaghetti." Like he's talking, dude. And I'm sitting there, like, you said, it's fettuccine. Like, you know, like here I am trying to fucking school this cholo on goddamn fucking on the spinach pasta.
Assimilate. Give him a minute.
So we all went to this. We had dinner.
Tried to beat up.
We all went. We had dinner. We go to this event, and then afterwards we went to a fucking Tierra concert. And then that's when he was like, "Who the fuck put love on my old lady's picture?" Like this guy was fucking out of his mind, just out of his mind. Rest in peace.
The PCP didn't help.
Right, the fucking
dude. Yeah, it was
gonna be rough, huh? I did have a similar experience with somebody who got out of jail after 15 years, and we went to sushi in Pasadena, and we were sitting there, and he's like, "I don't know what the fuck this is." When I went to jail, there was no cell phones. I've never been to a Starbucks.
Yeah. That's the same thing with this.
And he was so like stressed out about it. I was like, "Dude, it's totally chill." Like it was me and some friends. I was like, "Don't worry about it. You're gonna be like," and he'll message me from time to time. He'll be like, "Man, sushi's my thing now." I'm like, "All right, then, guy, that's cool. You know, whatever. You know." But they have to. They're completely.
Yeah, they have to really
programmed, right?
Yeah, dude. It was a trip, but
that's scary.
All right, I think we're going to start wrapping it up. We've kidnapped you long enough, Rafa. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you? What do you got going on? What do you want to share? I'll let you have some time to
just follow me on Instagram and YouTube if you can. So Instagram is at rafa.la, and YouTube just /Rafael Cardenas, or just Google my name, Rafael Cardenas.
Rafael Cardenas. Yeah. Cardenas or Cardenas?
The accent is on the A. Cardenas. And it comes from Cuba, too, actually.
That's
I mean, there's a state in Cuba named Cardenas, but it comes from Spain.
It does come from Spain.
Yeah.
Everything comes from Spain.
Not fettuccine, ironed.
Iron spaghetti. Oh my God, dude!
I was so
it's crazy memories.
Well, thank you guys. I really do appreciate the invite, first of all, and it was really nice to meet you, and nice to hang out here and chat with you guys. It felt really natural, and
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And I we're gonna hit up the sound bath. Lady.
We're gonna invite you to our sound bath slumber.
I'm gonna hit her up. I'm gonna hit her up and tell her.
Name?
Her name is Arlene.
Yeah, Arlene. We're gonna go get a bath from Arlene.
Okay.
And
that sounds like happy ending baths. We're not gonna say it like that.
We're not going to the bathhouse.
We're not going to the Korean bath.
The Turkish bathhouse. Is the Korean bath freaking a happy ending? Because I know a lot of dudes that go to the Korean baths.
I'm going to say that I heard through a very reliable source that there are some Korean bathhouses where some things happen. Some heterosexual things and some non-heterosexual things.
At the Korean bath?
Yes. The one on Wilshire in LA. So, yes.
I had some friends that went and got scrubbed, and they were like, that was the most painful goddamn
but
thing. But
there's other Korean baths that are just...
Well, it depends like what you go do.
Yeah. My mom goes to Korean bath... Wait. And she's not going to happy ending. She goes and they'll like bathe. They'll literally bathe you. They scrub you with salt.
But you get like a package, right? You're like, I want this done.
It's like $150 if you want the works.
And then, but they'll like, so they'll
I've had it done
once. They'll finish you off?
No, not for that. I don't know. But
I don't know. I had
the salt
you
part
have to know
done.
the code, bro.
I think that men get hit up for that more often than women. I've never been somewhere and they're like, hey, tú, $20 y vámonos, you know?
Hey,
like, tú dame los $20.
¿Quieres masaje?
like the Reiki guy, imagine.
He's starting to show you his fingers.
Like, he's like, mira. And I'm like, oh, shit. No, but yeah, I think guys get hit up more than girls.
That's funny.
You know?
Yeah, but there's none of that at the Reiki or the sound bath. So.
There's not.
Okay, then we're not going. So there's that.
What kind of bath is
what
that?
What kind of bath is this?
The baño espiritual. You do baños espiritual? You ever heard of those?
I do. Baños espirituales are something that we do that have 21 different sacred herbs. And then we pray over them and we mix them.
My friend
and then you
did do that. So I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I've made it like very easy for people, which I saw somebody on Offered Up. I'm just saying, disclaimer, that's selling that baño for $121. I mean, more power to you. They're $10 at my shop because it's supposed to be available. It's not meant to gouge you, but I'll send you the link.
120
literally was thinking of you.
Is it the bag they put it in that costs $100?
So you can do it on your own. I sell it dry now for people who live in other states.
Are you doing the Gucci?
I sell it mixed. So this guy had this whole listing for it, and he's like 121 sacred herbs. And my goddaughter sent it to me. She's like, Madrina, this is like yours. And I was like, first of all, I don't know who this guy is, but $121, that's crazy.
21 herbs at $121. That's what, less than $10 an herb.
Kentucky Fried did 11 herbs and spices.
And you could get like $9.99 for a bucket.
There you go. And if you go to churches, you get 100 pieces for $29.99.
I'm just very realistic. I mean, $121. But yeah, spiritual baths, we use them the same way you use sage to get back to one. We use it to get back.
That's a good way to put it.
We use it to get back to one.
Yeah, that's what the Reiki and the sound baths do to me. That's a good way to put it.
It gets you back to one.
Yeah. And so I get to this point where I'm like vibrating out here and I'm like, nah, I don't want to be there anymore. So I go there and just walk back out feeling tall, feeling like no weight on your shoulders. You're walking on clouds. And
that's a very spiritual experience that you think that you get taller.
Yeah.
Those are people who are more connected. That you think you get taller is something.
I do get taller.
I'm done. I'm done.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Brujo 101 with my spiritual advisor, Shet. Big thank you again to our guest, Rafael Cardenas. Hit us with a share, hit us with a rate and review, and many blessings. Satara Katashanda and wiki to everybody.
Kore mina de. Sao go.